This is an example of an average daily balance calculation with a revolving debt statement, a credit card statement. So here on the left-hand side of the screen, you see a Visa statement from 2008. And it actually has on it the average daily balance. You can see right here, the average daily balance is listed, and the daily periodic rate is listed. But we're going to compute those anyway, just to make sure we know how to do this. So we know that the average daily balance is the balance each day of the cycle. So in order to compute that, I've got to know what the balance is every day. It says there are 31 days in the billing cycle, and that the billing cycle ends November 7th, 2008. So I'm going to list over here day of the cycle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, up until I get to 31. And I'm going to list what that date is. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to type in the 31st day, November 7th of 2008. And then I'm going to fill up. So it turns out that the first day of the cycle, the first day I need to know the balance for, is October 8th. Now, I'm going to cover up some of this bill because I don't need to see all this information. And I'm going to list the transactions over here. And I'm going to cover 3 cells for the transactions. There we go. Because I've got some days, as we'll see if I look at it, but I can see just looking at it, I've got multiple transactions on the 21st here, multiple transactions on the 30th. So I've got some days with more than one transaction, and I want to make sure that I can deal with that. And so here I'm going to have the balance. Now, I do need to know where I started from. So let me make a little space here. The previous balance, according to the statement, this is this right here, balance of last statement, is $3,475.29. So this balance is going to be this amount plus the sum of whatever transactions I had that day. And then after that, I want the previous day plus whatever transactions I had that day, all the way until I get to the end. What this is going to do is this column is going to give me the balance each day. And I just now type in the transactions. So the first transaction listed is a payment. It says I made a payment. And the payment posted on November 1st. So I'm going to go to November 1st And I'm going to write in this payment negative $113.50. That's what it said the amount of my payment was. And now I'm going to go and enter in the rest of these transactions. Now I want to make sure I enter these on the posting date, because the posting date is the date that it actually affects the account and actually affects the account balance. So on October 14th, I have $130.03. On October 20th, I have $74.28. On October 21st, I have $21.05. And then I have $19.36. Oh, I'm writing these on the wrong days. Sorry. I put these on the wrong dates. These should have been the 20th and 21st. There we go. On the 22nd, $2.04. On the 24th, $72.57. On the 25th, $6.68. On the 30th, two transactions, $22.53 and $16.91. On the 31st, $4.63. On the 1st, $9.67. Remember, we also have that payment on November 1st. On November 2nd, $48. On November 4th, two transactions, $43.10 and $24.56. And now notice it says continued on next page. I gotta go look at the next page because there's one more transaction on the next page. I'm not gonna write down the finance charge. I'm gonna compute that. But I do need the $157.53. Okay. At this point I have this list of balances. So I want the average balance. And to compute that, I just want the average. Of all of the daily balances. And it says that the average daily balance was $3,700.69.5. Well, that's exactly what it says on the statement for average daily balance. So it looks like I computed this right. Now the way I compute the finance charge is to take the annual percentage rate which is given as 16.90%. It's right here. And divide that by the number of days in the year. So this is equal to the annual percentage rate divided by. Now, how many days are there in a year? It turns out that Macy's uses 365. So 0.04630. There it is. There's my daily periodic rate. If you want to see that as a percent. Now it looks exactly like what it says on the statement. So now the finance charge. All I have to do to compute the finance charge is compute simple interest. Revolving debt is computed with simple interest. So this is a simple interest calculation. Principal, average daily balance, times rate. I'm going to use the daily periodic rate times time. Since the rate is given in interest per day, I need the time in days. 31 days, $53.12. And that's the finance charge. So the new balance should be the final of the daily balances plus the finance charge. $4,067.85. So this is how you would do an average daily balance calculation. I wouldn't give you anything on an exam with this many transactions. But I like this statement because it shows no matter how complex the statement appears, I can do this computation. I can take the mystery out of where all these numbers come from.